Good to see you there again, Twitch chat. Welcome back to the SPL. I'm John Youngling Fitch, and I do have with me Taco. How you doing today, Taco?
No, this time not the full introduction. I'm down, but
I don't want to be your mom again, Taco.
Understandably so. I don't know. She's a wonderful lady, though, and I think she's watching right now, so I got to say good things about her, of course.
That's right.
Getting back on track, though, with this match that's coming up, I am definitely really anticipating seeing what's just going to happen between these two teams.
Yeah, we got eUnited versus Noble. This is our fourth set of the day. Don't worry, we got a bonus fifth set coming for you, but let's take care of eUnited and Noble first, and those picks and bans are already ready for you. Let's go ahead and get them up on the screen. Taco, who are you looking for to come out on top this time?
It's going to be a really tough one to tell. I feel as though Noble might be one of those teams that tends to play either up or down, depending on the competition. Yep. And so that can work both for and against the team. Granted, I think that eUnited are also a very highly regarded team. They're all very mechanically sound players. And with that in mind, Noble are certainly going to have to step it up if they want to compete with eUnited.
eUnited coming out as one of the top teams right now, definitely seem to be at the top of NA. Right now, the SPL just in general is very competitive. This fall split is so important. That's the one that lets you get into Worlds, the one that lets you stay on the top for the Season 5 as well. But right now, eUnited, they're putting their hopes into the Nemesis, already locked in as their first pick.
Very solid selection as well from eUnited. Does provide a little bit of an option for a flex pick. We have seen a couple, or we've seen one in particular, of a Nemesis solo from Cyclone, although that was a while ago. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something that Salt Machine opted for, or excuse me, Benji.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's also a strong jungle choice for Verizial now? He keeps changing every other week. It doesn't even matter anymore. But either way, Noble with that Huyi and the Morrigan's a very potent combination.
Huyi and Morrigan are indeed very strong. Huyi very likely going to Wowie in the ADC role, Morrigan for mid, and then Kakalin taking up for eUnited. So we talked a little bit about it here for you. But yeah, Fafnir also going to be locked in for eUnited. That's not likely to be their support.
And of course, you have to keep in mind that the Fafnir works really well alongside of the Nemesis as far as the setup potential is concerned. Those hammer stuns and the chase down is the more important part. When you're just stacking slows on top of slows, it can really become a strong issue to deal with.
Then Osiris for Noble. Again, Osiris, one of those flex picks. He can work in the jungle. Lately, we've been seeing him a little bit more in the solo role, but he can go either way.
I do feel as though for Skeleton, it might be, we've seen a little bit of better performances from him on the actual hard carries this split, and I would actually prefer to see that Osiris in the solo lane and give Skeely a little bit more flexibility to try and play that hyper carry god.
eUnited might be feeling the same way. Serket, Camazot's already focuses out, as well as Naja, so they don't want a traditional jungler to be the one that Noble take out. They end up picking up Geb, giving themselves someone very safe here that you can take into the end. Over picks like Khepri even, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a potential Odin flex pick here for Noble, especially considering that that Amuz and Cab was just locked in for eUnited. So it's a pretty strong pick with the ring against the Nemesis. It also really helps slow down that mobility from the Nem, and I thought as well, it could be a strong lean towards the Odin.
Odin could certainly be a strong pick for Noble as they are looking to make their final pick in, but eUnited right now, they're scaring me with all the damage they have on that team. Thoth, Amuz, and Cab, Nemesis are definitely capable of shredding down some gods, but Awilix is going to be the final pick for Noble. A little bit of setup for it with that Gep.
I'm a pretty big fan of the Awilish selection, actually, because it means that Skeleton's going to have a whole lot of mobility as far as traversing the map is concerned, and that can be hard to keep up with on that Nemesis, having that double dash, darting around every which direction. So, and as top of that, Awilish has so much presence as far as lane clear potential is concerned.
Especially very early in the game, Awilix provides a lot of pressure. That Feather Step in particular, it's kind of nutty with all the damage that he can do for you. So that's something to be on the lookout for. Skeleton in the jungle looking to try and get some early pressure perhaps on Venenu there, who's piloting the Thoth, or even if he goes for an early gate on PandaCat, which is a good way to put an AMC behind.
And PandaCat playing this AMC, he was probably one of the first Hunter players to really start bringing out a mobile god pool. He started off with that Artemis and the Blink Artemis. I don't think we're going to be seeing any Blink AMC anytime soon, although it would be pretty spicy if he did opt for that route, but at the same time, I love these aggressive directions that PandaCat is taking.
What I like that we're seeing here is Benji's in a lot of trouble. Horrific Emblem already coming out for those slows on the side of Noble, but another slow coming out from Walwish to try and keep Benji in trouble. Scream, though, able to get out of there, so not able to get a kill off of it just yet, but definitely putting them in dangerous territory.
That counter Horrific actually just saved Benji's life so hard. Without that, Skeleton and Walrus are able to continue chasing down Benji, ensuring that they get the in-hands off that will take him out for first blood. Although Noble still have the pressure of the solo lane.
eUnited has both PandaCat and Polar Bear Mike on the dual lane side of the map, which is not something we always see nowadays with some of the supports going over to that mid lane as well. It's given them some pressure onto Noble's jungle. They even took the red buff and have that on PandaCat now to further increase the already pretty ridiculous clear that AMC has.
And Wowie just trying to keep it safe in the dual lane right now, anticipating that invade from Polar Bear and Mike. Mike kind of just sniffing that one out, not allowing Wowie to get that farm. But since he was able to secure the mini creeps off of that purple buff, he'll still hit level 2 off of the wave.
And so based on this start, expect to see PandaCat a little bit ahead of Wowie, just a little bit ahead of Wowie here in the early, and then it's going to be Venenu who's going to be struggling a little bit with Wubbin and Moswall having the pressure. But looking to invade or eUnited, Scream and Benji are both here. That Rage form just dropped off, and it looks like they were able to get that last hit in and steal it. Scream is the one with that blue buff on him. Beads coming out just to make sure he doesn't get caught out, and eUnited trying to leave with the spoils.
Fortunately for Skeleton, they'd already successfully invaded eUnited's buffs. Just unlucky. However, it could be Scream in a really unfortunate position. Double dash going to save his life. Same could be said for Skeely on that feather step.
Two junglers end up taking a lot of damage in that last engage. Thankfully, they both have Bumbles, but Benji jumping in and having the necessary amount of damage to clean up the kill. Now it's up to Scream to try and keep his solo laner alive, and he does. Walrus just has to fall back. Those minions hitting a little too hard.
And Scream, Benji, both getting away with just about 10% HP. Probably one of the more frustrating aspects to witness, especially from Walrus's perspective. Just nothing he can do to try and assist Skeleton. Really, it was just unfortunate that the damage was enough to secure that first blood. That
kill does go on to Benji. It's going to make things even a little rougher for Walrus now, because Benji's going to be a little bit further ahead, as well as Skeleton had to go back. Fortunately, that speed buff was just coming up, so there is farm for him, so he's not going to be too far off his normal jungle path.
He's actually still slightly ahead of Scream just because of the successful invade that Walrus and Skeleton managed to have off of eUnited's jungle. Still, he needs to be incredibly careful because Awelish flourishes during this early game time period. Probably the first 8 minutes is where Awelish is going to have the most impact due to that feather step damage and the small AoE proc around it if you get the second auto attack to formulate that. So as long as Skeleton keeps trying to play around this solo lane side, that's probably where he's going to have the most kill potential.
Speaking of Skeleton, do you think he needs to come over here and try and put pressure on the PandaCat early?
There's really not much that he can do, considering that Polar Bear Mike has been hanging around that duo lane side so often, just now starting to rotate over to the mid lane, unlike Wubbin, who's been in the mid with Moswell for a while now.
That's right. Perhaps Polar Bear Mike looking to keep the somewhat vulnerable AMC a little extra protected earlier, as Skeleton and Walrus continue to try and give Benji a hard time and help out since there's a bit of that early lead. But Skeleton's around here. Speed buff is about to spawn soon. That's why we see Polar Bear Mike and everyone trying to hang around, make sure that nothing's going to happen with those buffs one more time.
Even PandaCat getting a little bit aggressive there against Wowie, actually pushed up right to the red buff. Recognizes that it's just Wowie, but still doesn't look to contest, respecting that early damage that could possibly come off of the Hui Ricochet.
Noble are already here. Polar and Mike forced to jump back. Now it's Benji and Scream who have Walrus a little bit isolated. Goes in and gets the 3-man ult, does Benji, and that just forces him back. So eUnited can go ahead and confirm their own buff, but Skeleton wants to hang around.
Skeleton was maybe looking for a cheeky 3 over the wall for the steal. Just not worth trying to contest that buff right now, though, knowing that there's 4 members as well from eUnited that made the rotation to ensure that Scream would be able to secure his own speed.
And that's what you have to do when you recognize the pressure coming out from Noble on the jungle. Have the rest of your team rotate in. Venenu and Polar Bear Mike hanging out nearby so that they can help out with that buff. Just make sure that their jungler is able to get the speed, which is so important, and they don't lose up any more of that farm. Again, we've got 2 members over here, but it looks like Scream's hanging out in the jungle, maybe trying to bait Noble in onto Benji so he can use that ultimate to shred out Walrus, because Skeleton has backed.
Now, Awelish actually can grab Kakola in that jump. It's just that it's such a quick moment of time.
It is a short window.
It's so brief that you're better off just holding it and waiting for the immediate setup from your team. And I believe that's also why we see Skeleton not really looking to try and force that one out, because if you're off the mark, then you just know that there's going to be a counter engagement immediately after.
One more time, Wowie's able to secure those oracles. Getting a nice bounce on him, too, to get plenty of extra damage. Looks like Noble may have even gotten those fire elementals, as only Benji was over there to try and contest with them. Skeleton going in a little bit aggressive, it looks like.
And Wowie, with that jump away, leading me to believe that he just wants to back to base. And sure enough, he's either going to go and pick up Devourer's Gauntlet here or Boots, although I'd imagine that he might prioritize. It is the Devourer's Gauntlets. He's prioritizing, stacking that up. Same story for Panda on the opposite end.
They're both going with the Devourer's Gauntlet, and we're able to get the tier 1 of Boots as well, so that way they'll have lifesteal. Once they get those stacks going, especially for Panda, there'll be some potential to start pulling that Gold Fury. We're still a little away from that time period, but that's something that they're going to have to consider. We've seen a lot of objectives lately get stolen away while team members are occupied elsewhere on the map, so that's something both these AD carriers are going to be capable of.
Normally, I would have probably favored eUnited as far as early Gold Fury shred potential is concerned because of the coerce off of the Fafnir, but with Wowie and Wubbin both having incredibly strong objective contest ultimates, as well as Moswell could potentially turn into Veneno on that Thoth, and with that in mind, eUnited need to be really careful about how they want to organize themselves in the jungle, because at any moment's time, and there it is, it's actually the beads forced out by Panda, not wanting to take any chances.
And Skeleton not getting any help on that setup either. He just hits the knock-up and then goes to the pull, so good job forcing out those beads from Panda. Polar Bear Mike coming over to try and help out now that Panda won't have that safety net of that CC cleanse, just helping him clear out this wave and forcing Skeleton and Wowie to back up a little bit on this duo side. But look at Noble's wards that they've got deep in on this side of the map, over there near where those red buffs are, so they can try and catch out any rotations.
That beads pull was also mostly important for Wowie. Wowie is going to be the main one looking to try and get the 1v1 kill onto Panda early on, because during the laning phase is probably the only time that Wowie is going to have pressure over AMC. If Panda is allowed to just continuously farm and build up enough leverage, he will eventually overpower Wowie. Muzenkov is just the best 1v1 hunter in the game.
That's what a Muzenkov does, especially inside the range of those hives. He's so difficult to box against, getting all that extra attack speed just for putting them down. If he were to commit any levels into it, it goes up even faster for him. So that's something that we saw Skeleton do. It's what we talked about earlier. Come over and try and put some pressure on the Panda so he doesn't feel comfortable in this duo lane.
And I think that Noble are also doing a great job at prioritizing leaving Wubbin in that mid lane with Moswell, ensuring that his mid laner isn't going to be sent to base anytime soon with those Geb shields.
Despite getting that first blood, things are just about evened up here as far as gold is concerned. I mean, it's basically even. 1-0 all of the kills in favor of eUnited. And we're about 8 minutes 30 in as those oracles come up one more time, but Skeleton looking for some action over here, knows the beats of Panda will not be available. Geb shield strong, but Skeleton gets taken down by Panda. The ultimate comes out from Wubbin, but it's not enough to get anything out of it. Polar Bear Mike trying to keep Wowie away from the team fight as Panda and Scream's rotating in as well. Benji gets a kill on Walrus in the soul lane, and Scream takes down Wowie. 4-0 now in favor of eUnited.
I'm not a big fan of that one. That was just too much commit to try and find that kill on the Panda. Understand that his beats were off cooldown or on cooldown, but now Benji's just going to make the easy rotation, and Wubbin has absolutely nowhere left to go.
Wubbin just all kinds of caught out here. This kill is going to happen. Eventually, it does end up going to the credit of Benji, which Walrus probably is not happy to see. He's already having a tough enough time over there as it is. Ultimate comes out from Scream, though, onto Moswell, who actually turns into Nemesis to give herself a dash to get away. She is able to create enough distance, but again, it's 5-0 now, the kills. And that gold lead we're just saying was even a shot up to 1,000 gold.
Moswell, it looked as though he was just trying to check the Gold Fury, at least provide a little bit of face presence. Now Skeleton in some trouble, just narrowly avoiding that stun from Veneno, but still got to keep in mind, Scream's actually developing a decent bit of a level disparity between the two, and it's going to become it's all uphill now for Skeleton at a Wheelish. And
what went so wrong for them with this gank onto Panda? They came in trying to set him up. They recognized that the beads were down. I felt like Skeleton got immediately blown up.
Skeleton just got eliminated between jumping on top of a Fafnir and then being in the face of an losing Cab, Polar Bear Mike just did a great job peeling for his Hunter, and then the sprint at the end of it all to make sure that he could get away from the ultimate from Wubbin. That missed Cataclysm just made all the difference from Wowie not being able to secure the kill.
And that's something we've talked about. For a Muzen Cobb, his self-peel is kind of just that he does a lot of damage, and you don't want to stand in his face for very often. Looking to invade this red buff, our eUnited. Wubbin taking a good deal of poke and forced to use that shield on himself. Early in the game, that is a bit of a cooldown. So if they look for more, then they wouldn't have to worry about that shield. But backing off for eUnited, no longer able to contest.
Skeleton kind of just riding Suko around, still getting hit by the hammer stun though from Mike. Actually taking a decent bit of damage from them. Benji, standard proxy farm from
Not
his
even just
solo laner.
proxying. That tier 1 tower is down at this point in the game at 10, well, literally 11 minutes in the game. They have the tier 1 in right, and they're starting up the Gold Fury, our Panda Cat and Scream. Look at Fafnir doing a good job. Polar Bear Mike, I'm trying to keep Wubbin from being a part of the engagement. They use the ultimate on Wowie as soon as he shows his face from Scream to force him back.
And this, again, this Gold Fury already so low. Wowie trying to get in there, but it's going to be secured by eUnited. Final Judgment just to make sure from Menino, but all around, 3 ultimates expended from eUnited, and Noble still don't feel comfortable trying to fight into them.
And this is eUnited using their lead across the map to try and expand it out. It's one thing if you do get some early picks in the early game, but we've seen that happen before where you get early picks but unable to convert it into objectives. Then you end up in those 50-minute games where you all are stalled out, and even eUnited are pushing the envelope, forcing the fight at Gold Fury. When Noble are afraid to commit, then they just take the objective.
I wouldn't call it a fault by Noble, but that initial attempt at a gank onto Benji by the blue buff of eUnited, and the horrific emblem just came through from Benji as well to counteract Walrus's. That made all the difference for how this game was going to go early on for Noble, because after that, they kind of just lost that potential to continue invading since Skeleton ended up dying. Speaking of which, Skeleton again falls to Scream on the solo lane.
Walrus uses his ultimate to try and get away, even commits the horrific emblem. I don't think he managed to hit anyone. Maybe he was able to get Benji with it a little bit, but he is able to get away. But that's a cooldown he won't have available. Scream now putting damage into Wubbin as Maul's Wall gets brought low by Venenu. Ultimate comes out from Scream and he dashes in, but now the sprint in response from Noble keeps it safe for the time being, but eUnited want the speed.
And Sprint still going to save his life. Wubbin can't do anything else besides watch, considering that he's only a level 9 Geb, and every single member of eUnited is at least 1 or 2 levels above their opposition.
That's right. In particular, Benji over Walrus is looking like the problem here. He's got about a 3-level lead, sitting 3-0-1 is Benji right now. That again, that tier 1 tower already taken down. What that means really so much is that Benji's free to rotate and be more a part of these team fights.
With the early leads that Benji and Scream were able to acquire for themselves, there's just absolutely no way realistically for Noble to have a very solid opportunity at fending them off from their own. Really, I'm kind of surprised that eUnited hasn't been invading a little bit more often, but I can understand and appreciate them rather playing things a little bit more patiently, considering how well their draft continues to scale into the late game.
Looks like they're taking your advice. Coming over to try and have something to say about this red buff are eUnited. Skeleton pulls in Polar Bear Mike to the Suns from Wowie, but the ultimate grants immunity for Polar Bear Mike, so he doesn't take too much damage. He's getting Lee's low and backing out. Wubbin also under pressure underneath the tower, but they do end up chasing down Polar Bear Mike. Walrus gets credit for that kill, and in the dual lane, they continue to commit onto Scream, who has to back off.
And Veneno, he was standing by, just ready to charge up that final judgment. eUnited, though, not looking to be over-ambitious again, considering that Polar Bear Mike caught the brunt end of that one, eating practically every ult from Noble.
Walrus, I'm sure, happy to get that kill, get credit for the kill at the end of it at least, to try and catch up somewhat with Benji, who's running a little bit out of control so far in the game. Polar Bear Mike maybe getting a little bit too aggressive, and he gets punished for it. Wowie, Dash is already down, Aegis is already down. A big fight already for eUnited, even if they don't get the kill, just forcing out that relic usage.
Forcing out his Aegis is probably pretty huge, actually, because now it leaves him very open to Veneno on this Thoth, and whether or not he'll be able to continuously dodge out of those Nemesis ultimates is a whole nother story. There's only so many slows he can avoid, and having his Purification Beads means he's going to have to choose between a Slice and Dice or the ultimate from Nemesis.
This gold lead now at about 4,500 in favor of eUnited. as they look to start trying to pressure around the map. The Gold Fury is about 1 minute or so away from respawning again. That'll be an area where we already saw them once sneak it away, or not sneak it away, but sort of take it in the face of Noble, who couldn't really contest it. They still have the Portal Demon available as well if that's where they want to go, but instead just choosing to try and take these Harpies. And like you said, they're not really going for those buffs that much, it feels like. Or the invades. Right?
Understanding their limits is probably what eUnited has grown really great at, which has also helped lead towards their accomplishments for wins that they've been able to secure against other teams that some might regard as better than them. It's just that this team is very understanding, and when you're able to progress in that manner, where you don't feel as though you're going to over-engage, then that's exactly what a team needs to understand, is that sometimes it's best to not go in.
United at least able to sneak away the speed buff from Noble's side of the jungle, so that's one more advantage they were able to get, and they put it on Scream, who's happened to have 2, I'm sure, in his name. Walrus and Benji duking out a little bit, but Scream is making a rotation over here too. This could be trouble, as Walrus doesn't have a tier 1 tower to retreat to. Able to avoid the damage was Scream, and now he's committing on to us. The slow even blinks in. Horrific Emblem comes out though from Walrus to slow down the aggression, and that will be enough to save his life as Noble also pull up the Gold Fury.
Quite a lot expended there by Scream and Benji. Not sure that it's going to be enough, though, to encourage Noble to stick onto that Gold Fury. And sure enough, trying to back off, but Akillathehun already getting poked out pretty heavily by Benji on the backside, trying to grab an Anu in the mid.
But Nanu able to back off. He's going to be okay. Benji put in a lot of damage on the back end of that team fight as they rotated in onto Venenu, which I think discouraged them from committing any further. I believe Moswell actually transformed there into Nemesis to try and get that ultimate off onto Venenu, but it just wasn't enough.
Moswell has consistently been transforming into the Nemesis, which I think is probably the best choice selection for Noble at the moment. If they're going to have any opportunities to shut out one of the carries from eUnited, or even one of the tanks that's constantly in their phase, for instance Benji, it's going to be through that Nemo.
PandaCat now has the Gold Fury down below half health. It's Polar Bear Mike who's going to try and zone out the rest of Noble, but they get them to commit and immediately drop it. They go in onto Wowie, unable to get anything out of it. Venenu still has his Final Judgment available to help secure if they feel like it's necessary, but what they're trying to do is bait Noble in.
They want to fight with Noble, and they want the Gold Fury as well, but sometimes you can't have both, except you can't have Wubbin as Venenu cleans out the gap.
And that was just perfect. That was textbook. They got Wubbin to commit just a little bit too far forward. Immediately, they lock him down, get the kill. They're able to fall back, secure the Gold Fury as well. Now 7-1 are the kills. That Gold lead looking more like 7,000 now as Benji forcing Walrus away from the tier 1 tower, so that PandaCat can continue to shred it away, and eUnited are looking to take as much as they can. They gave them an inch, they took a mile.
It's not going to stop there either. Pretty sure that eUnited are going to look to regroup on that Portal Demon, maybe after finding another kill in the mid lane. Wowie and Walrus both forced back, and Walrus actually using the ultimate to get away.
Walrus does use the ultimate. He's worried about taking danger there, and maybe he's predicting that there won't be another fight very soon. Blink in from Scream onto Akillathehun, who's slowed out. He's on top of that Suku now, though, so he's got that increased movement speed. He's able to get away. Scream, though, just happy to force him back.
Scream probably wishing he had his ultimate up and running, but just a little bit longer to go before that cooldown is available again. Either way, Akillathehun already taking massive chunks of his health from even the slightest bit of Nemesis damage, and it's not even like Scream is using a whole lot. It's just one slice and dice and a couple of in-hands that are just destroying.
And you brought it up earlier, but that invade on the Soul Lane side at the start really is having a big impact on this. If they could have taken out Benji and Walrus is the one ahead, I feel like the whole game would be flipped, because Benji's the one that's a nightmare for Noble to deal with, and Walrus is seeming a little ineffective in these team fights. When Benji's a part of them, there's really nothing to backline. Venenu blows up Moswell in the mid lane also. Just a little bit of solo mid-fighting there. Wow.
That's just a primary example of mages not having a very big health pool to work with, and Venenu completely understanding that, just taking full advantage of the situation as Akillathehun getting abused by Benji on that backside. Wubbin trying his best to peel, but still a level 12 and a level 13 of Wheelish, and nothing that they can do.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Benji's up there zoning out 3 members by himself. If Skilladon sticks around, it's a kill. He jumps in thanks to the damage from Athena to try and pick up the kill on Skilladon, at least force him out, as tier 2 tower is going to be the call. Walrus has to give up on that tier 1 in solo and try and rotate in to be a part of this, as PandaCat's actually able to pick up the tier 1 in the left side. Ultimate does come out, though, from Scream.
Well, been trying to drop that Cataclysm, get a little bit of settle going for his team. Instead, he's going to get 2 members by Vaninu, rocked by that final judgment.
Benji finally bites off a little bit more than he can chew, but I'm sure he's happy to make the trade as tier 2 falls in both mid and in the duo lane. He kept all of Noble from being a part of the engagement. He does trade his life, but they get plenty out of it.
This is one of those games where you start discussing what you're going to do in the second one. This one I would pretty much determine as over. 11k gold lead, eUnited's favor, and it's just the real difference is that experience lead. Like, that's just devastating right now.
It looks like they were trying to go for the portal demon, but had to back off it. Polar Bear Mike recognizing that Skilladon's low, and he's looking to set up Scream for a kill, and Scream finds it. Skilladon going back to base, just trying to find a way to get something else off the map and stem the bleeding from eUnited.
All Skilladon wanted was a little bit of farm, but he's not going to be able to find it here, and neither will Wubbin as he gets wiped out again by Vaninu. And sure enough, the entirety of Noble on the run. Polar Bear Mike gets Moswell. Walrus looking next on the menu. F6 is before he can actually fall.
And that's probably a good call from Noble to make that F6. Nothing more, like you said, was going to come from that game. It felt like it was out of hand for Noble. Instead, use that little bit of time to talk about game 2, and let's get things reset and fresh.
Sometimes things just happen to spiral out of control.
Yeah.
Noble were definitely banking a lot, maybe a little bit too much, on having that level 1 invade actually go their way. I don't think that they were really anticipating that counter horrific emblem, and because they used theirs first, Benji's wasn't worn off just yet, and so unable to secure that kill, and then Skilladon fell underneath the T1 tower. It kind of just threw everything out of control.
It was also the lockdown for eUnited that created a problem. If Wubbin would step in even a hair out of line on those objectives, he was immediately getting locked down and then burned by the rest of eUnited. Of course, the lead that helped him do it did come as a result of that solo lane maybe not going so well for him, but let's go ahead.